Welcome to Breaking the Glass Ceiling podcast. We'll be talking about the challenges we all face when we pursue success. We'll talk to individuals and professionals who give us insight and practical advice on how they broke the glass ceiling and actually reached their goals. Our mission is to give you the tools and resources that help you overcome obstacles and unlock your full potential. Our episodes may get a little edgy, so you may want to buckle up and get ready to break those pesky glass ceilings. Now here's your host, a true professional ready to take the journey with you, Celeste Sierra.
Yay! I'm so excited to be back.
Yay.
I am back. Everyone's been asking, like, where's Celeste? Where's what's the name of my podcast? I'm just kidding. Breaking the Glass Ceiling.
Okay,
I've been gone
I
for
love
like
it.
3 months, I think, or longer.
Oh, wow.
I'm telling everyone, like, the kids were out of school.
Yeah, I must have been busy because I haven't really paid attention because I always see you. So
I always
But
put
you're back.
something out there. But
Yeah.
yeah, the podcast, we took a little break just because the kids were out on
Nice.
vacation. And so, but we're back and I'm excited to have you.
Thank
You're the
you.
first guest after the break.
yeah,
Yay.
yay.
Christine Castillo, welcome.
Thank you.
With Element Real Estate now? No,
Human
Element.
Element Real Estate.
I
out of
love the
Claremont.
name.
Yeah, I love it too.
Human Element.
I love it too.
I mean, I haven't asked. I saw Shar not long ago, but I didn't even ask her, like, where did the name come from? Do you know where the name come from? I think it's amazing. Human Element.
We'd probably have to ask Eric. I do
Eric,
not
okay.
know. But it's supposed to basically be, us being human and understanding, people and
maybe the element.
Yeah,
of,
I don't know how to explain
buying
that.
a home.
Yeah,
And what it
exactly.
takes.
Yeah.
Well, that
Treating
you're
people like people.
You're basically the first. I'm trying to think back, but I think you are the first real estate person, realtor that I have invited to the show.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. That's awesome.
I tell
I'm
everyone,
excited.
like,
I'm
I
very
was-
honored.
In our industry, like, everyone has a podcast. We all
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
it. But I was like, I wanted to do something a little different. So we started a podcast with a lot of different people from different, areas of life and businesses and stuff. And, of course, everyone's been asking, like, how come you don't have anyone from real estate? And I'm like, I know, I will get to it.
Nice.
But I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, I think I've asked you too. I like, when am I going to do
Yes.
a podcast with you?
But you and I talked about before I
We
even started
did.
the podcast.
Like, I feel like there's a need out there for what you do and what I do. So I since I do kind of a niche job
Yes.
within the real estate, and it kind of goes hand in hand with what you do.
Right.
So it feels like something that we should be doing more of.
Yeah.
Talking about that.
And talk about, and when we started talking about, okay, let's do a podcast and talk about, what you do, you really do. I mean, you do it all when it comes to real
Right.
estate and any client, but
Right.
you do have a specialty when it comes to divorces.
Right.
And that's why I thought, okay, we need to bring you on board. Let's talk about it. Because I've been through a divorce, you've been through a divorce. Like, so
Absolutely.
we have that background.
Right.
And now you're in a position to help those people going through it as
Yeah,
well. Not
and-
just women.
No, not
We're
just
not
women.
just women, but yes.
But definitely, I mean, they need help. It's the most devastating thing that you can go through is to go through a divorce. And definitely, when I get a hold of them, I mean, they don't even know how to check their bank account. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So that's where I kind of take them to you and have you guide them on the finances.
Yeah. It's been, I mean, we've had clients that have had to either get jobs after a divorce or they already have
Yeah.
a job, but like you said, that they
Yeah.
had the finances together and now it's a matter of separating. Like, it's a very difficult part of life, right? I mean,
It's the worst thing you could possibly go through.
Yeah.
It's devastating.
Yeah.
And it's devastating, not only to the couple that's going through it, but the children.
Right.
And the family pets.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had to find, homes for their pets because they can't take the pet with them to the new place, or women that get, $200,000 worth of equity out of their home and they don't know what to do with it.
Right. Yeah.
So, and I'm scared for them because I'm like, okay, you're going to blow through it.
Right.
What are we going to do to ensure that, you make right decisions for you and your children. I mean, I've helped women get jobs. I mean, and we've talked about getting them involved in, protecting their money and what you
themselves up now for the future more than anything, right? Because they go through divorce, and a lot of them don't even know like how they're going to retire.
Right. Exactly. I mean, and I tell everybody, you need an emergency fund. Yeah. You need that. I didn't have that when I got divorced. Yeah. I had nobody guiding me. And, I got a job and I just worked. And if I had a little extra money, maybe I got my hair done or my nails done. Right. So it's really guiding these women like, this might be your only opportunity to have $100,000, $200,000 sitting in your bank account. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. I mean, when I left, my marriage, I don't know about you, but I had zero. Right. I left Texas because I was in Texas. I was a military wife, and 18-year marriage with 3 kids and a dog, and with zero to my name. Yeah. And I had to start from scratch. Yeah. And so when these women come to me and they're completely devastated, and it's sometimes the men, I'm going to say mostly it's the women, they come to me and they're devastated, and I have to give them the pep talk like, hey, you're getting something out of this. Let's make it work for you. Right. Let's lead you to victory. And how do we lead you to victory? Yeah. We get other people that are going to guide you. I have I have a credit repair guy that I use. He's amazing. So most of these either whether it's the man or the woman, but they'll come to me when I get a hold of them. They have probably a 580 credit score, and it's always like the same across the board, 9 times out of 10, about That's 580. True. Okay. And now they're getting this huge sum of money, not enough to buy a house cash, but what do we do with that? Right. How do we make it work for you? Yeah. Some of these ladies who are in the home with these kids maybe work a part-time job, but don't have a career. Yeah. I was that. So I would come with no judgment. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was that person. So what I try to do is give them the pep talk like, hey, I tell them about my story. I came with zero. I mean, I like zero. Yeah,
and we can relate to them. It's funny because you're saying something when we meet these women, and you obviously introduce them mostly to me, but they already know about your story. Like you talk to them and you relate to them, and then they come to me, and then I do the same thing, right? Yeah. And I talk to them about what I went through or whatnot. But I think your approach is obviously very important. I talk about, how we have to be those individuals or those professionals that are giving to our clients more than just the transaction, right? Like you're just like selling their home through the divorce or getting them into a new home, but you always have gone above and beyond because, you always talk to them about like what I could do with them, right? Right. Like, set it up financially. Like let's, set up your money correctly, like not just dump all the money into a new home or whatnot. And I think that's great that you do come across as like you're looking out for their best interest.
Absolutely.
Really.
And I'm not a financial advisor. Right. I can just speak from experience, but that's where I'd rather give them to you to sit down with them and talk to them and, get them with a credit repair person, get them with the professionals that they need. Where I go a little bit above and beyond, I feel, is trying to find them a home and not having them displaced after the sale of their home. So I try to negotiate them staying in the home a little longer. Right. So they have that time because I have to find them a lease. I have to get them into a rental property with a 580 credit score, and that's not, it's not, right? But I refuse to put someone with their children, and displace them in an area that, like I'm not going to put them out in Hemet if the kids are going to school in Upland, so that's really important to me. So that there's a lot that goes into it. And it's not easy, but I have the resources to help them and, people like you and hopefully they get inspired by women like us who have gone through it.
That's for sure something that, I love to have conversations with all these women because even at the time that they come to us, I feel most of the time they've either gone through the divorce already and they're just like in the process of like selling and dividing assets. but that hurt or the emotions are still lingering. Like,
Yeah.
I've had conversations with some of our clients where
Right.
they're still like
It's
going
hurtful.
through it.
It's the most hardest thing that you could ever go. Obviously, you went through one.
Yeah.
I mean, now me and you look back on that and we're like,
I
that
know.
was probably the best thing that ever happened to us. But
I
at
was
the-
on. There's a light at the
like
end of the tunnel.
but at the time when you're in it, you just don't see the hope.
Yeah.
You don't. And it's like having these conversations with these women or man, because I have them on the other side where they've been left behind. So it really
Right.
works both ways. But I feel like, especially with the women, they can relate to our story. And you can do well. You can, make your money that you're getting work for you, and you can go to work.
Yeah.
You can. It's never too late
Right.
to go to work. I went through my divorce at 38, and I know I was working a job 12-hour days to make it and put a roof over my kid's head. Nobody helped me.
Right.
I didn't get alimony.
Right.
I had no equity from a house to live off of. I just had to work, and my kids saw that.
Yeah.
And so, now I'm at a place where I've built a business, my real estate business, and I can have a little bit more time off to spend with my kids now that they're adults. But yeah.
What do you think it's, when if someone is watching and they're going through it right now, they're at the beginning stages of, getting a divorce or reaching out to an attorney or whatnot, would you suggest for them to obviously reach out to someone like you first, to bring you on board or to bring you to the home and talk to both parties? Like, what would you say would be the first step for them? Or do you just work with like the divorce attorneys directly?
Right. Usually, lately I've been getting a lot of people reach out to me on Instagram and saying that they're going through divorce, they need to sell their home, maybe their attorney's not working for them and they haven't gone to that stage yet where it's time to sell. I have had that, and I can guide them a little bit, but I'm not an attorney, so I can't give them legal advice. Some don't have an attorney, and now it's great. You can contact me. I can give you a list of 5 that I think would, suit you. And you can go from there, or find an attorney in your area, ask people, word of mouth is always the best, for sure. But
we have referrals.
I do. I have amazing attorneys that I work with, and I'll give you a list, and they can go from there. But it's really important to work with an attorney. Yeah. 100%. I didn't. I don't know about you.
I did.
Did you? Yeah. I didn't. And I ended up using some paralegal that did documents and,
especially if there's assets involved.
There wasn't a whole lot because, when we split, my ex let the homes go to foreclosure that we had. We had 2 homes in Texas. Wow. He let them go. Yeah. So I lost those. So there wasn't any assets. There was our kids. And that was it. But the kids stayed with me. And so we didn't have a lot to argue over, but there were certain things financially. Right. There was child support, and I opted out of alimony just because I didn't want to deal with it. So, and there was, some other things, that could have set me up a little bit better, but I didn't know because I didn't have an attorney.
Right.
So I was very naive, and I did miss out on some things, but ultimately I'm doing fine. Yeah. I was able to get on my feet by myself. So.
I've had people reach out to me, they're starting the process as well for divorce, and they want to do it on their own.
Yeah,
because they're
always
afraid.
Say that.
And I think it's more because they're afraid of like the fees that come with like an attorney and retainers and whatnot. But also, like, if you reach out to us and then we have referrals, like, I know my attorney has always take care of all of my clients. Every client that I send, like, he works with them, like, figures it out
for their payment. Yeah. So you can always do payment. And I know a few attorneys, and they probably don't like me to say this, but some can get paid out of the sale of the home. Right. I mean, I
have done that.
There's a way to do that. Some don't do it though. I can give you a list of some that I know that do, and you can, but don't let that stop you. Like, you got it, because people always say, well, it's amicable. Yeah. We don't need it. And it's amicable till it's not.
Yeah. Always.
And then it comes back to bite you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I always say, just get an attorney. and get the home sold. That's really important to move on. If you can stay in the home, awesome. If he or she's gonna sign off and allow you to stay in the home, more power to you. That's great. But more than likely, there's gonna be an order for the home to be sold.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, there are options, right, for everyone that's going through it. There are options of buying.
Sure, you can buy each
either
other
party
out,
or whatnot, right? But I think it's my experience that most of the time there has to be a sale.
There usually does. Yeah. Or I just got a call recently. Someone found me on Instagram that he got the divorce already, let the wife stay in the home with her children, with their children till a certain age, but it wasn't written out in the divorce decree. Mm-hmm. So now he's okay, I want to sell the house. Well, she doesn't want to sell now. And how do you go about that? So now he's got to go back to court. So there is that. Sometimes one spouse can say, hey, you can stay in the home with the kids till this child turns 18. Right. So you can do that. There are ways to do that, but more often than not, it's ordered to be sold.
Right. Yeah. That's very difficult. What do you say, aside from obviously the expertise of working with divorce attorneys and you work with a lot of divorce clients or clients are going through divorce or whatnot. Do you do anything other than work with those clients? Like you have other types of clients, obviously.
Right. But, sure.
Yeah. Talk about your experience in real estate. Obviously, again, not just divorcees.
Right.
Yes.
As far as what?
Just how long you've been in the industry and.
So, I came back from Texas. I grew up in Upland, came back from Texas in 2011, but didn't start into real estate till probably 2015.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is because your career before real estate
was interior design. Yeah.
Which I love.
Yeah.
Because you kind of combined the
So
two.
I actually worked, so when I was in Texas, I worked at a furniture store. I worked for Thomasville Furniture, and then came here, knew I needed a job, obviously. I didn't want to get back into that line of furniture and then doing the design side of it, but I was looking for something else, but it kind of landed in my lap. I got a job at Mathis Brothers Furniture out of Ontario, and I hustled there. I was one of their top salespeople I was there about 5-6 years. And I mean, I worked from 9 in the morning till 9 at night every day almost. Right. I mean, I had maybe one day off a week. So I did that, and then always knew I wanted to get into real estate. It was just really hard to work the hours I did and still go to school and have these children at home. And I had one in college at the time and the other two home. And so eventually I was able just to do it and, got into it, and I went all in. I was like, if I'm going to do this, I have to do it 100%. And so I ended up, I cashed out my 401k at my job and went all in on it. And it was a struggle. It was really, really difficult. So
it's hard to go from a regular job to
right.
1099 only.
Well,
right?
and because I was like a top salesperson at Mathis Brothers, and I'm like, and then I come out here and I'm a nobody, and I'm like I'm working at this brokerage and I see these top people and I'm like, wait a minute, like I'm like really good at what I do, and it was really hard to break into it. And I think honestly, it comes just down to, I'm gonna sound crazy here, but manifesting it all, because, I
working really hard,
hard, but really knowing that what I wanted, and I could see it coming. Like I knew I would do well, but I wanted to find something like working with people going through divorce. I knew that was kind of the route I wanted to go.
You have a passion for it.
Right.
For sure.
I heard somebody talking about it. I'm like, that's what I want. And somehow it led me to meet this person that introduced me to this person that got me into it. And the clients liked me. And they said, hey, she did a great job. And they hadn't heard that in a while in that industry. So they continue to use me. And so hopefully I keep doing it for a long time. And, now it's getting to a point where I am getting people reaching out to me for divorce advice. I mean, I'm like, I can't give you legal advice, but I can tell you what to do, so yeah.
It is so funny because, you're right. I get people all the time reach out to me too about like divorce and advice. And yes, we're not attorneys, but
Right.
I just think it's so neat that people, we can relate to our clients, because then you gain their trust.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a client that we had together once, and she actually told me, she said, I just love that you understand, that you guys understand what I'm going through.
Yeah.
Like, and I see what you've created, like what you guys have done with your life,
Yeah.
and I know that I can do it too.
Right.
And I thought that was like
It
so
is.
cool.
I mean, I see you. It's amazing. And I remember meeting you at one of my, like, the lowest point in my career, because I just started, and
I was just trying to remember when was
yeah,
that.
and I'm just like, I was back to like almost after I got divorced, like where I had nothing.
Yes.
Like nothing, like, just trying to make it to my next showing with on fumes,
Yeah.
and I remember you just telling me, you gave me some advice, and it was, you said something to me, and you're like, I don't know what it was about, but it was inspiring about changing your life, the way that
Aw.
you met your husband, and
Yes.
and I had
You were
just
single then.
I was actually in a bad relationship, like a bad relationship after my divorce, which is probably worse than my divorce. It made my divorce look like Disneyland. So, and I just remember being like, God, what am I doing with my life? Like, this is crazy. And you telling me something like, you listen, I've been where you are. And I don't know why you said it, because I hadn't even really talked to you about it. You're like, I've been where you are. You said there's hope, and and I've met after my divorce, I think you said that after your divorce, that you would never find someone, and you were just you had a really hard time, and you're like, just hang in there, trust me, it'll be all right. And I just was like, wow, okay, and you were right. I mean, I met a great person in 2020, and we've been together for almost 4 years, and it's taken this long for me. I mean, I think I met him at 46. So that goes to show. I mean, I talk to these divorcees, and they're like, "Oh, I'm too old. I'm going to be 40." I am like, "Are you kidding?"
You still have a whole life
like
ahead
you
of you.
don't know. You can reinvent yourself at any age. At any age. So
That's
it's just all about being positive and working hard and surrounding yourself with positive,
good people,
inspiring women or men,
100%.
whoever it is. If you're a man or woman, just find a group of people that inspire you.
I do talk about that all the time, and I think I've said it a million times on my podcast and reels or whatever, but I always talk about how surrounding yourself with people matters so much, the right people.
Definitely.
Because I do remember you at the very beginning of your career too, and when it wasn't really working.
Yeah.
And and then all of that changed.
Yeah.
Because you changed your surroundings too.
I did.
You
Somebody
did.
told me one day, or actually a few people told me, I think it was one of them was Marlena.
Probably.
Or I think so. Was like, when you change your living situation with this person, sky's the limit. It's just gonna change for you. And she was 100% right. Or actually, multiple people told me that, but I didn't believe them at the time. I was like, oh, I don't think so.
And it goes along with like divorces too.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want to hold on to. I mean, this is my personal opinion, but you want to hold on to a relationship so much because you don't want to go through, the logistics of it, the legal part of it, or you don't want to leave because of the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, that's obviously everyone talks about that, staying in a bad relationship because of your children.
Absolutely.
I think it's just even worse.
Absolutely. Yeah.
To be honest, right? Same situation with friendships, right? Like we're talking about the people you're surrounding yourself with. Like if you're in a bad relationship, you're surrounding yourself with a bad spouse.
It's the negativity.
It's not going to bring anything good to your life. Same thing in your regular life with relationships and friendships. About it all the time.
I know. Same.
You need to watch who you're hanging out with.
And if you're going through divorce, it's okay to be alone after the divorce. It's okay to heal. Like heal before you get in a relationship. I mean,
be okay with yourself.
And I think that if I could go back in time, I think I would have just not dated. If I would have known the outcome where I would be today with the person that I'm with today, I would have just said, you know what, I'm just going to wait. I'm not going to date, because I mean, You just don't know, and it's okay to be alone. And I think we're told as women very early on, maybe more our age group. I don't know if it's, you know, the younger girls are maybe way more independent than we are, but
a different generation.
right. But I think with us, it was like you have to have a partner. And so you're always looking for that. And I see within my divorcees already in relationships going through the divorce and not all of them, but I think it's okay to just be alone for a while.
Right.
And get your head straight and then find the right person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the right person will come. Again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like there's always someone out there for us.
But no one's going to save you. That's what I always try to impart to women is like, don't think, you know, okay, I'm divorced, so I'm going to wait till my next husband and, you know, spend all my money on getting myself perfect. No, work on yourself just for you.
Yeah.
That
and
person,
have fun.
Yeah, have fun. Enjoy it. I mean, yeah, enjoy your friends, you know, travel, enjoy your children. Because the children are the ones that...
Well, I mean, talking about friendships, too, and going through a divorce, that's another thing that changes altogether as well. So you now have to start working on your own friendships, right?
Right.
Because when you're married, most of us have friendships that are all combined.
Absolutely.
So now it's like, who's going to stay with
and
who?
And families. Because you lose, like, when I divorced my ex-husband, I mean, you know... I lost his family.
Yeah.
You know, I kept like a few of them were like I'm really close with and I value them so much. But yeah, you lose that. So it's sad.
And you have to be okay with it. I do remember as well talking about this. When I left, I made the decision. I made the choice of walking away from everyone. Like friendships.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys were friends with
absolutely,
him first or whatnot. Like, but we, you know, I used to be very close to some of these women.
Yeah.
And I had the conversations with them.
Yeah.
And I told them, you know what? I know that it's going to be very difficult for you guys as well. And I don't want you to feel like you have to take sides. So I'm just going to walk away. And I walked away from every single friendship that I had in combination with my ex. And that's how I left it. Yeah. And it was completely fine.
Yeah. And you have to be okay with not telling your side of the story. Right. Like you can't like, you know, blame and tell them, well, you know, this is what he did or, you know, you have to be okay walking away. I mean, I know when I walked away from like the relationship I was in when you first met me, it was a lot of things he had said that I wouldn't even validate it because it was not true. I don't care. Those if they want to believe it, but you know, eventually people always see who you 100%. Are. They eventually see, and I always say this too, when I'm talking to divorcees who say, "Oh, you know, my son's not talking to me because of what my ex said," or I tell them, I say, "You know what? Eventually, just keep the course. Yeah. Eventually, the kids will see who the problem is. Yeah." They always do, but just keep the course. Just 100%. keep calling your son, keep doing all the things you need to do as a parent and as an adult and do everything that you can right and live your life and they will eventually see who the problem is because it's not okay. Yeah.
And I'm not a psychologist or whatever, but tell me if you agree with this, I'm sure you do. But never talk bad to your kids about the other person.
Oh, yeah.
Regardless of whose fault it is, right?
And I have been, let me tell you, when you're in the divorce, we are all guilty of that in some way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. I mean, I do, that's why I hold no judgment because when I'm in it, I'm hearing these couples sometimes talk in front of the kids. Yeah. Oh, no, they know. You know, little Johnny knows all about it. And you're like, okay. And I can look back on my divorce and say, okay, I wish maybe my kids didn't know some things, you know what I mean?
100% agree.
And I've been guilty of it too, which is why I try to, you know.
And it's really hard. It's
very hard because when you're in it, like you have, you know, I look back, I mean, I was 37, 38, and you know, you've got that passive aggressive. Yeah, like, well, it must be nice that he's out at the bars, you know, the kids are hearing these little comments and you know what I mean? But it's just this anger inside of you. And then when it's gone and you move on, you can look back at it and say, what was I thinking? Yeah. It was all okay.
Yeah.
It was all okay.
And I think one of the biggest things that I want people to take away from this, you know, aside from all the advice we're giving, it's, you know, to me, it's so important to really be focused as a, you know, divorcee and women, because it is true that most of the people that do reach out to us are women, but to be aware of having to take care of the finances as soon as this thing kind of gets going.
Absolutely. Don't wait till the money's in your account.
Don't wait. Have a plan
yeah.
for it. Because I've seen so many people that have, like you said, they get all this cash and it's blown. Like,
well, and there's people that will take advantage of you as well. So we had a case, I don't know if you remember, she was the seller of a property. You didn't work with her, but
she was very young.
She was actually in her 40s. And she seemed
young.
No, but she seemed young because she was very naive. And I was trying to guide her, and she got about $160,000 worth of cash. And I remember when she found out how much she was getting, I had to tell her how much she was getting.
Yes.
She said, "Is that a lot?" And I said, and then she went and rented a house and paid up to 2 years in advance.
I think
which
I remember you telling me
against
this,
what I had advised. Yeah. So I called that landlord, and you know, I had it out with him because I thought that 2 years that's really steep. You know, if something were to happen to her, where's that money going to go?
Right.
And she's got 2 children, so I wanted to protect her money. I really wanted to get her with you. She never did.
That's true.
She never made the appointment, and I guarantee probably right now, because that was about 1.5 years ago.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if the money's gone.
Yeah.
And so it's really important, and that makes me really sad because I can lead people, right? I'm trying to lead them to victory, but not everybody wants to do it, you know? Yeah. So I think definitely that's something that I, you know, highly advise is to talk to someone like Celeste who can help you, you know, help.
And we have people in the office, you know, like I focus on the mortgages, but we do have, you know, Drea, like my assistant, that she handles all the financial services, and she would probably be the one that, you know, can walk a lot of this women
definitely
through the living trust process, right? Because one of those things that you definitely want to get to right away, when you're changing things and dividing things, it's getting your living trust together, especially if there's children involved. If there's kids, you want to make sure that whatever you're doing with your money, if you're going to buy a new home,
right,
other assets that are coming from the divorce are protected for your children as well.
I know. I think that's the thing is I feel like it should always be about the kids, you know?
Yeah.
Like surviving and making sure that you're leaving the kids a legacy, you know, and I think personally, because I come from the real estate side, right? So my mind is have an emergency fund, go ahead and rent for a year or two, get a job, get some cash flow, don't spend your money, and buy property.
Yeah.
As soon as you can, buy a house.
Yeah.
So then, you know, you have a place to live when you're 70, 80, you know, because again, you always have to go when you're going through life, pretend like no one's going to help you. Just
100%.
know that. Just know, like, you might not find
Remember that the government's not going to be there for you, and maybe your spouse is not either.
And you will age. You will get older. You will not be able to work one day.
Right.
Where are you going to live?
Yeah.
Because the prices of houses are going up, you know, and
care.
And
like
care.
If nobody's going to be there to help you.
Right.
And you don't have a home at least to live in, right? And you're renting or whatever. I had a client, I don't know if we talked about this before, but I had a client that the daughter is trying to do a reverse mortgage on the mom's home. The mom is in her 90s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the husband passed away years ago. He set everything up for the wife. So she was taken care of. Like the husband left insurance, left pensions, the house paid in full.
Nice.
Like she was set nicely.
Okay.
And the daughter told me we didn't know that she was going to live this long, the mom.
Okay.
So now she's in her 90s and they're running out of the money from the trust. There was all this money in the trust. Everything was set up. But because of the elderly care.
Oh, it's so expensive.
She's paying $13,000 a month.
Oh, for sure. It's
for
expensive.
Care for the mom.
Yeah.
And she said all the money is going to run out. So now we need to prepare for that. So now they're going to have to tap into the home.
Yeah.
Thank God that she had a home.
Wow.
In the 90s.
You got to have a home.
And now they're going to be able to tap into it to pay for her care.
Like, I'm not anti-renting if you have to rent for a year, 2 years, but having a property, you know, is going to ensure that you and your children have a place and that you have a place to age in.
Yes.
Because you may not find Mr. Right, he may, or Mrs. Right or whatever to come and be your partner for life and buy a house together and retire together. Yeah. You have to assume that you are going to be alone, and how are you going to survive? And so yeah, I mean, it's scary. I mean, I have 2 aging parents as well, and they're dealing with, you know, some elderly care issues too. And they have a great house. They're going to be okay. But, you know, the reality is, I mean, they're in their 70s. In their 70s.
We're living longer.
Right. They're in their 70s, but they need care. Yeah. So, I mean, if need be, they do have their house.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty much paid for. So, I mean, if they need to dip into it to pay for that or whatnot.
It's very true what you say. Like, you have to think, there has to be a plan, right? You have to have a plan, not just for the right now. Yes, we all talk about, like, you should buy a home.
Right.
Don't rent because you're paying 100% of interest, or whatever you want to call it, whatever they say out there. But it's not just even about the right now or generational wealth, which we talk about all the time. Buy real estate so you can leave it to your kids. But it's really about your future, like you said.
Yeah. When
you get older, you want to have something to either, live in and hopefully tap into for care. Because if we don't plan, I always think, if you don't plan, do you really expect, like, do you really want your kids?
Yeah.
When they already have families and their own kids and they're doing their own thing.
Right.
And having their own issues to having to deal with.
That would be horrible. Yeah. That would be, like, I can't imagine needing any that for my kids. Yeah. You know, I mean, you really have to. I mean, I wish I would have taken care of, you know, my finances at an earlier age. Yeah, I started a little later, you know, but it's okay. And it's like I tell people, it's not too late.
It's never late.
It's never too late. You just have to make right decisions. And maybe, you know, I'm a firm believer in, if you can't buy a house here in California, like, buy one out of state and rent it, you know, and then rent here if you have to. Yeah. Do what you know.
Buy out of state so that you can have some cash
flow. Because eventually you will have
Mm-hmm.
equity in that house. You will have, and that could be your retirement fund.
Right.
It could fund your retirement.
Right.
You know, you might get $2,000 a month, and then plus your Social Security. I mean, if you think about some of the things, you know, and I mean, you got to do what you got to do. So,
what would you say to some of those people out there right now that are like, well, rates are too high?
Oh, I hear that all the time. I mean, rent's high. Yeah. I mean, you know,
rent is ridiculous.
I mean, before I met Ron, I was living in an apartment. You know, I went through my breakup and moved into an apartment, and it was $2,600 a month. I mean, when did that happen for an apartment? $2,600 a month. I mean,
well, I think the average rent in this area, what do you say, $4,000?
Oh, easily for about 4,000 for a
4,000.
decent, nice place. Yeah. I mean, that is I would rather, no offense, but I would rather take my 4,000 and invest it.
Yeah.
I would rather go live a little less in a smaller house. You know, if I got to move to, Fontana, Rialto, or find an area, I'll do that and I'll commute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Versus giving my money away, because eventually that money that you put in on that house that might not be your dream home will be your down payment for your dream home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I mean, having that conversation, I mean, what is it, 8% now? But
the rates,
I mean, I hate it. I don't love it, because I also want to buy, I'm looking for a rental property for, to buy out of state, and I'd like to buy something, but
that's another thing we have to talk about.
Yeah, we got to get in the game. You got to get in the game. When are you going to get in the game? You're going to wait? I mean, and hope.
Wait, you can wait.
And to be honest with you, the 2.5, whatever it was, people were getting the 2%.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. That
was
never
coming back.
Listen, and when was it ever 2% before that? Like, you know, I think when my parents bought, it was like 15%.
Yeah. When I started, I've talked about this all the time. When I started doing loans in the 90s, in the late 90s, it was 13, 14% interest rates.
Right.
It was crazy.
And then the people that don't want to, move into a bigger home, they just had a baby, maybe their family's getting bigger and they want to go buy a bigger home and they're like, well, no, we're just going to live like this because we have a 3%, rate.
Yeah.
Well, what about your lifestyle? What about your happiness?
We have plans for that. Which
I love what you were saying earlier. So I think people will eventually get used to it and make moves.
I think the key for everything, even going through a divorce or trying to sell your current home, moving into a new home, downsizing, upsizing, whatever, it starts with a plan. Like you need to definitely reach out to an expert, a professional in the industry that can help you put the plan together.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of people, we were talking about it earlier, they don't want to sell right now because they don't want to get rid of their 3% interest rate. But yet they have probably their credit card debt up the roof, paying 22, 23, 24% interest rate.
Yeah.
When you have probably hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity that you cannot even tap into because you don't want to get rid of the 3%.
Right.
So that's what we were talking about earlier. Yeah. We can actually, sit down with clients that are wanting to sell but are afraid of getting into the high interest rates right now.
Sure.
And then we can help them put together a plan, and we can show you how much you can actually save probably in interest buying a different home that you want. Maybe the home that you got into at 3% 2 years ago was not your forever home.
Yeah.
Now you want the forever home,
and you're sitting on a ton of equity, and you think about it, it's you got all this credit card debt. You're willing to spend on that vacation and pay 22% to go to Hawaii or wherever you go, and yet you're worried about the 7-8% on a house that you can refinance later. Yeah. I don't know.
We have to be really, really smart about the planning. So, that being said, if anyone is interested and wants to put a plan together, they're interested in selling their home, you have the expert right here.
Yes.
And she has me to back her up and try to put together a plan where we can show you how to sell your home, pay off all your credit card debt, pay off your cars at high interest rates.
Right.
And get that home that you really want. Don't be afraid, because there's really ways of doing it and doing it the right way. So don't think that just because you have a 3%, you cannot move or you cannot go.
Yeah, you're stuck. You're stuck where you are. Yeah. It's really just looking at the bigger picture. Just that we just map it all out and figure out what works. And 100%. I think you're great at that. So
thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
did you have fun?
Thank you. I did. This was really great. Thank you for having me. I loved this.
Thank you. I really wanted to do this for a long time. Again, not just because of the divorce thing, but I think it's so important because, unfortunately, divorce, I don't know what the percentage are right now, but it's like 50% of everyone or marriages end up in divorce, or probably it's a higher number now, unfortunately, in the United States. But I think it's definitely a conversation that needs to happen. A lot of people don't like to talk about it.
Yeah,
people that are going through it don't want to really,
Right. They're scared to reach out.
Yeah.
They usually wait maybe too long to reach out. But, it's a fact of life. I went through it. So I think with us, there's no judgment. 100%. There's just no judgment here.
And if anyone is interested to get a hold of you, you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm Cece Sells Homes on Instagram. Or you can reach out to me. Everything's on my Instagram, so that's probably the best way, actually.
And she does TikToks too.
No, I do not. I am terrible at that. So no, you won't find me on TikTok, but you will find me on Instagram for sure.
You'll find her, but just like looking at videos on TikTok.
Right? Yeah, stalking videos. That's about it. So
okay, sounds good. Well,
right.
thank you so much. I am so excited to be back. Yay. Thank you for being the first one after the long break that we had. I'm excited for this one because I think it's good stuff. So
I think it's good stuff too.
Thank you so much.
Yay.
Thank you for joining us on Breaking the Glass Ceiling. We hope you feel empowered to break free from limitations that hold you back, so achieving your dreams is now possible. Don't forget to subscribe and be part of our inspiring conversations. But before we go, we want to remind you that you are capable of greatness. And by joining us next time, you can start shaking off that self-talk so you can move forward. That's one step closer to breaking the glass ceiling.